I recently picked up an SP404-SX, and I decided, let's make a little lo-fi beat together. I'm Spencer from Tape 9, and let's get started. So let's chat samples. I had a vocal sample, a melody, kick, snare, and a hi-hat. So I was trying to figure out what effects to put onto the hi-hat. So I started off with a low-pass filter, and I didn't like that, so I went with a bandpass filter instead using the isolator. And then I resampled it and used chorus on top of that, and then I resampled again. So what you do for the resample method is you hit resample, record, the pad that you want to record to, and then you press the pad that you want to record from, hit record again to stop it, and then what I do after that is I delete the original, and then using function 2, which is the exchange function, I swap the two. So on the snare, I used MFX12 compression to just add a little bit of gain and punchiness to it. And then I used resample as outlined earlier, and yeah, that's how I made the snare sound. So last is the kick drum. What I did for this is I added an isolator, chopped the highs, brought up a little bit of the mids, and added the lows all the way in. After that, I added subsonic. What subsonic does is it adds a sine wave underneath whatever it is in whatever pitch you want. So what I did is I added this really deep to make it wide. And now we have the drums. So next I did the melody. I added on EQ, scooped the mids a little bit, and boosted the bass just so I could have the other parts of the song kind of come right through the middle and shine more. And then I used the resample method as I did with the drums and as I do usually. So it's a pretty subtle difference, but you'll be able to tell it in the final mix. So next what I had to do is convert all of my samples into mono mode. So I just do that by resampling and deselecting the stereo button. And sometimes it actually makes it better than what the stereo sounds like. And I do this for a couple of reasons. One, to kind of just simplify it, and two, so that when I resample, I can have more things playing at the same time. So here's all of the samples in mono. So now let's roll our sleeves up so we can get started on what the beat's gonna sound like. So now what I'm going to do is just make sure that the melody loops perfectly, or as perfect as I can get it on the SP, because the only thing about this thing is that there's barely any screen, so you have to do everything by ear. So I think that loops pretty nicely. So now I just hit delete and mark to truncate it. And now we can move on. Now I'm going to use resample again, this time to layer the beat together. And because of the limitations of the SP, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the vocals out on this one. So now that I have that recorded into the 9 slot, what I'm going to do is use function to exchange it into the 4 slot, just so it makes it a little bit easier for me to play. So now I'm going to use the sample that I just created as well as the vocal sample so that I can layer it into making the final beat. So now that the whole beat's recorded, what I'm going to do is go back and play it with effects like I would a live set. This will mimic what it's going to sound like as a final product once I release it. that's the whole beat, said and done. Some form of this will probably be out on one of my next couple projects, depending on when those come out, probably the next couple months or so. But yeah, this was a lot of fun for me to make. I know I haven't been posting much for the last couple months. I've been really busy with school, kind of difficult getting into the college mentality. But you guys can expect to see some more with the SP404. And hopefully soon it'll be a little bit cooler looking than the original. And for anybody interested in purchasing an SP404, I'll probably have a review up within the next couple weeks or so, hopefully. Crossing my fingers. But yeah, I love this thing. It's been amazing. And I'll see you next time.